Look at your phone. Look at your notifications. You're being hunted. Your attention is the most valuable resource on this planet, and you're giving away for free to people who want to keep you average. Most people are drifters pulled by every beep, buzz, and headline. But a master treats their focus like a high-caliber weapon. If you cannot lock onto a target and stay there, you've already lost. It's time to stop wandering. It's time to stop reacting. It's time to be so focused they can't distract you. Chapter 1. Attention is the only currency. Stop checking the clock. Time is not your problem. You have 24 hours in a day. So does the billionaire. So does the beggar. So does the man who will change the world and the man who will die in obscurity. The difference between them isn't the duration of their day. It is the quality of their attention. Time is a neutral resource. It is a bucket. But your attention is the gold you pour into it. If you cannot control where that gold goes, you are effectively bankrupt. You are a financial disaster of the soul. You are spending your most valuable asset on garbage. You are trading your future legacy for a 3-second clip of a stranger's life. You are letting Silicon Valley algorithms pickpocket your potential every time you hear a ping. Where your focus goes, your empire grows. You have a choice. You can be a victim of the attention economy, or you could be the owner of it. That's the key. Most of you think you are working just because you are sitting at a desk for 8 hours. You're not working. You're oscillating. You're toggling. You're checking an email, then a text, then a headline, then a spreadsheet. You are leaking energy like a shattered pipe. It's not about having a busy schedule. It's about your discipline to stay on one frequency. You don't need their permission to be unavailable. You don't need their permission to be offline. Every distraction you allow is a signature on a contract that sells your greatness for pennies. Where your focus goes, your empire grows. Think about the average office worker. We've all seen him. He works from 9 to 5. He thinks he's putting in the time, but his attention is fractured into 1,000 pieces. He spends 20 minutes on a task before he checks his phone. He spends 10 minutes on a project before he chats with a coworker. By the end of the day, he has spent 8 hours of time, but he has only delivered 30 minutes of actual focus. He is exhausted, but he has built nothing. He is a shallow worker. He is replaceable. He is a commodity. Now look at the elite performer, the athlete, the coder, the founder. They don't work 8 hours. They don't have to. They work for 90 minutes. But in those 90 minutes, they are unreachable. They are in a vacuum. They have locked the door, silenced the world, and directed 100% of their cognitive laser at one single point. In 90 minutes of deep, uninterrupted focus, they achieve more than the shallow worker achieves in a week. They aren't smarter. They aren't luckier. They're more disciplined. They understand that 80% of results come from 20% of the focus. Where your focus goes, your empire grows. Every time you just check your notifications, you are committing an act of self-sabotage. Scientists call it attention residue. When you switch from a complex task to a quick text message, a part of your brain stays stuck on that text. It takes 20 minutes for your mind to fully return to the original task. If you check your phone every 15 minutes, you are literally never operating at full capacity. You are permanently dimmed. You're living your life at 40% power. A cold mind refuses to be dimmed. A cold mind understands that to build an empire, you must first build a fortress around your attention. You must treat your focus like a high-caliber weapon. You don't wave it around. You don't point it at everything that moves. You aim it. You steady it. You pull the trigger only when the target is locked. Where your focus goes, your empire grows. Here is your behavioral instruction, the attention audit. For the next 24 hours, I want you to treat your focus like a bank account. Every time you look at something, a TV, a phone, a person, a billboard, ask yourself, is this an investment or an expense? If it's an investment, stay locked in. If it's an expense, pull your eyes away. You must become a miser with your sight. You must be stingy with your thoughts. Stop giving away your gold to people and platforms that don't even know your name. If you wouldn't hand a stranger a $100 bill, Why are you handing them 10 minutes of your focus? Where your focus goes, your empire grows. You have a choice. You can be informed about everything and master of nothing, or you can be ignorant of the noise and master of the mission. That's the key. The world wants you distracted because a distracted man is a consumer. A focused man is a producer. A distracted man follows the trend. A focused man creates the future. It's not about having ADHD. It's about your discipline to ignore the bait. You don't need their permission to ignore the breaking news. You don't need their permission to delete the apps that are eating your soul. The more you ignore the trivial, the more you can dominate the essential. Where your focus goes, your empire grows. Your future legacy is being stolen in 3-second increments. Every like, every scroll, every reply is a brick removed from the monument you were supposed to build. When you're on your deathbed, you won't remember the memes. You won't remember the content. You will only remember what you built. And you can't build anything of value with a fractured mind. You must become a deep worker. You must become a person who can sit in a room for hours with nothing but a problem and the resolve to solve it. This is the only way to escape the middle class. This is the only way to enter the 1%. In a world of drifters, the man who can focus is the king. Where your focus goes, your empire grows. Repeat this until it is your law. My attention is my wealth. My focus is my weapon. My mission is my only master. You have learned the value of the currency. You have stopped the bleeding. You are beginning to realize that your distraction wasn't a personality trait. It was a habit of weakness. You are now entering the realm of the high performer. You're training the laser. Where your focus goes, your empire grows. You mastered the value of the currency. You have stopped the leaks. You are beginning to see that your focus is the only thing that actually moves the needle. But as you try to lock in, you will face a seductive lie. You will be tempted to do 2 things at once to save time. You will think you could be efficient by spreading yourself thin. You master the gold. Now let's talk about the myth that is keeping you from the diamond. Chapter 2, the myth of multitasking. Stop lying to yourself. You are not juggling responsibilities. You're not handling multiple projects at once. You're simply performing several tasks poorly. Multitasking is the great seductive lie of the modern age. It is a myth sold by the mediocre to justify their inability to commit to a single, difficult truth. You think you're being a power user of your own brain. In reality, you are just a scatterbrain with a high-speed internet connection. Your brain is not designed to run 2 complex programs simultaneously. It is designed to be a laser, not a floodlight. When you try to do 2 things at once, you aren't doubling your productivity. You are having your intelligence. You are forcing your mind to constantly switch gears, and every time it switches, it leaves a part of itself behind. 1 target, 1 strike. You have a choice. You could be the person who is busy with 1,000 things, or the person who is effective with 1. That's the key. High-level problem solving requires depth. It requires you to go deep into the cognitive trench where the real solutions live. You cannot get to the bottom of that trench if you're constantly surfacing to check a notification or answer a casual question. Every time you switch, you reset the clock on your genius. It's not about your ability to handle pressure. It's about your discipline to ignore the peripheral. You don't need their permission to close the extra tabs. You don't need their permission to finish the first task before you even look at the second. 1 target, 1 strike. Think about the driver on a busy highway. We see them every day. They have 1 hand on the wheel and the other on their phone. They think they are navigating the traffic while managing their social life. They think they are efficient. They are a disaster waiting to happen. Even if they don't crash today, their awareness is compromised. Their reaction time is slashed. They aren't truly driving. They are toggling between the road and the screen. If a child steps into the street, that driver won't react with 100% of their brain. They will react with the 50% that wasn't busy reading a text. This is why multitasking is dangerous, not just in a car, but in your career. When you multitask on a project, You are texting while driving with your future. You're missing the subtle details. You are ignoring the child in the street of your business. You are inviting a wreck because you couldn't commit to the road. One target, one strike. When you switch from task A to task B, your brain does not move instantly. It carries attention residue. A part of your processing power is still crunching the data from task A while you're trying to execute task B. This is why you feel busy but don't feel accomplished. You're living in the static between the stations. You are never fully here because a part of you is always there. A cold mind refuses to be fragmented. A cold mind demands total presence. If you are writing an email, be the best email writer in the world for those 5 minutes. If you're lifting a weight, be an athlete for those 60 seconds. If you're talking to your child, be a father with your whole soul. Anything less is a betrayal of the moment. Anything less is a confession of weakness. One target, one strike. Here is your behavioral instruction, the single task protocol. For the next 48 hours, you are forbidden from having more than one window open on your computer at a time. If you are writing, close the browser. If you're researching, close the email. If you're on a call, put your hands in your pockets and stay away from the keyboard. You will feel an intense, itchy anxiety. That is your addiction to novelty screaming at you. It is the drifter inside you begging for a hit of dopamine. Do not give in. Sit with the boredom of the single task. Force your brain to settle into the one thing. You will find that when you stop switching, the work becomes easier. The impossible problems start to solve themselves because you finally gave your brain enough RAM to handle the complexity. One target, one strike. You have a choice. You can be the jack of all trades who is master of none, or the specialist who is undeniable. That's the key. Mastery requires a level of focus that borders on obsession. It requires you to look at one thing until it reveals its secrets to you. You cannot be obsessed with 10 things at once. You can only be obsessed with the one thing in front of you. It's not about your busy lifestyle. It's about your discipline to be monotasked. You don't need their permission to be unreachable while you work. You don't need their permission to let the phone ring while you finish the mission. The world will try to pull you into its multitasking chaos because the world is a mess. Do not become part of the mess. One target, one strike. The most successful people in history weren't the ones who did the most things. They were the ones who did the most important thing with the most intensity. They understood that 100 shallow holes will never find water, but one deep well will provide for a lifetime. Stop digging shallow holes. Stop trying to spread the wealth of your attention. Your attention is a limited resource. Spend it all in one place. Spend it where the impact is. If you find yourself trying to do 2 things, stop. Pick one. Kill the other. Execute. One target. One strike. Repeat this until it is your operational mantra. One goal. One move. One result. You have learned to stop the fragmentation. You have realized that multitasking is just a fancy word for distraction. You are beginning to feel the power of the laser. You are moving from the shimmer of the surface to the cold of the depths. One target, one strike. You master the myth. You have reclaimed your cognitive unity. You're starting to see what you can actually accomplish when you give 100% of yourself to 100% of a task. But as you try to stay on target, you'll feel a pull. A pull from a part of you that wants to wander. A part of you that is afraid of the stillness. You master the one. Now, let's talk about the internal ghost that is trying to lead you astray. Chapter 3. Kill the drifter inside you. Most of you are not living. You are drifting. You are a piece of driftwood caught in a massive digital ocean, being pulled by the tides of other people's opinions, marketing campaigns, and viral trends. You wake up and the first thing you do is hand your consciousness over to a screen. You let a feed decide if you're happy, angry, or anxious. You have no center. You have no weight. You are a passive observer of your own existence, waiting for the world to tell you what to think next. This is the state of the drifter. The drifter hates effort but craves novelty. The drifter is addicted to the new notifications, new headlines, new scandals. The drifter is the part of you that opens a laptop to pay a bill, but find yourself an hour later watching a video about a city you've never visited or a celebrity you don't care about. You didn't choose that hour. It was stolen from you because the drifter was at the wheel. Be the driver, not the drift. You have a choice. You can continue to be a biological accident that reacts to its environment, or you can become a deliberate force that dictates its environment. That's the key. To reach mastery, you must commit an act of internal murder. You must kill the part of you that is obsessed with what's next, so the part of you that is focused on what's now can breathe. You must kill the novelty seeker and birth the grinder. It's not about your short attention span. It's about your discipline to stay on the path. You don't need their permission to be unreachable. You don't need their permission to be boring because you're busy doing the work. Be the driver, not the drift. Think about the modern professional. We see it every single morning. He sits down at his desk. He has a major report due. He has the browser open, but the drifter is restless. The drifter whispers that he should just check the news for 5 minutes. Those 5 minutes become 50. He clicks one link, then another, then a social media tab. He is scrolling, eyes glazed, dopamine spiking with every new image. Suddenly, he snaps out of it. He feels a wave of guilt. He realizes he has no idea how he got here. He was drifting. He allowed the algorithm to hijack his prehistoric brain's craving for new information. He has wasted his peak cognitive hours on trash. He is exhausted from the context switching, but he has moved 0 inches toward his goal. He is a passenger in his own mind, and the drifter is driving him straight into a life of mediocrity. Be the driver, not the drift. The drifter lives for the shiny object. The drifter thinks that the next app, the next book, or the next hack will finally unlock success. But success isn't found in the new, it is found in the old. It is found in the repetitive, the mundane, and the difficult. A cold mind knows that the grind is the only thing that creates reality. Novelty is a hallucination. The grind is the truth. To kill the drifter, you must stop feeding him. Every time you reach for your phone during a moment of silence, you're feeding the drifter. Every time you open a new tab because the current task got slightly difficult, you are feeding the drifter. You are training yourself to be a person who cannot handle stillness. You're training yourself to be a person who needs to be constantly entertained. Stop it. Be the driver, not the drift. Here is your behavioral instruction, the drift audit. For the next 3 days, I want you to carry a small notebook or a card. Every time you find yourself doing something you didn't explicitly plan to do, scrolling, wandering, daydreaming during work, put a mark on that card. See how many marks you have at the end of the day. That is the number of times you surrendered your sovereignty. That is the number of times you were a slave. Now, for the next 48 hours, you will implement the anchor. Before you open any device, you must say out loud, I am opening this to task, and I will close it in number of minutes. If you don't say it, you don't open it. You are forcing the driver to take the wheel. You are demanding intentionality. You are teaching your brain that you are the authority, not the algorithm. Be the driver, not the drift. You have a choice. You can have the comfort of the drift or the power of the drive. That's the key. The drift feels easy because it requires nothing of you. It is the path of least resistance. But the path of least resistance leads to a life of least impact. The drive is hard. It is a constant battle against your own biology. It is the discipline to keep your eyes on the road when the scenery is trying to distract you. It's not about your environment being too loud. It's about your discipline to be louder. You don't need their permission to ignore the trends. You don't need their permission to be the only person in the room who isn't talking about the latest viral nonsense. While the drifters are gossiping about the world, the drivers are busy changing it. Be the driver, not the drift. Most people are terrified of the drive because it means they are responsible for where they end up. If you are drifting, you can blame the tide. You can blame the economy, or your boss, or society. But if you're driving, the blame rests on you. Embrace that weight. It is the weight of freedom. A cold mind would rather crash the car while driving than be a passenger in a vehicle that is being steered by a stranger. Take the wheel. Own the direction. If you find yourself drifting, snap back. Don't apologize. Just re-engage. Be the driver, not the drift. Repeat this until it is your internal compass. I am the captain of my focus. I am the architect of my attention. I do not wander, I move. You have identified the ghost. You have seen the drifter for what he is, a parasite that lives on your wasted potential. You are starting to feel the friction of the drive. You are realizing that focus is a choice you make every single second. Be the driver, not the drift. You mastered the internal ghost. You have killed the drifter. You are back in the driver's seat of your own mind. But as you look through the windshield, you realize the road is cluttered. You have the will to drive, but you are surrounded by tools that were designed to make you crash. You mastered the who. Now let's talk about the what and the electronic parasites in your pocket. Chapter 4, the digital lobotomy. You're carrying a slot machine in your pocket. You call it a smartphone. You think it's a tool for productivity. You think it's keeping you connected. You are wrong. It is a biological hacking device designed by thousands of the world's smartest engineers to strip you of your willpower, shatter your focus, and sell your cognitive bandwidth to the highest bidder. You are undergoing a digital lobotomy every single day, one notification at a time. Every ping, every red dot, and every pull to refresh is a direct hit to your dopamine system. It is training your brain to be shallow. It is teaching you that nothing, no goal, no relationship, no mission is more important than the possibility of a new message. You have become a servant to an object. You are a biological extension of your hardware. Control the tool, or the tool controls you. You have a choice. You could be a digital serf, or you could be a digital sovereign. That's the key. A tool is something you pick up with intention, use for a specific purpose, and then put back down. A tether is something that is always attached to you, pulling you back whenever you try to run. Right now, your device is not a tool. It is a tether. It is a leash that the rest of the world uses to yank you out of your deep work and back into their trivial noise. It's not about staying updated. It's about your discipline to be unreachable. You don't need their permission to go ghost. You don't need their permission to have a phone that doesn't make a sound. Control the tool, or the tool controls you. Look at the elite. Look at the top 1% of creators and CEOs. Do you think the most successful authors in history wrote their masterpieces while checking their likes every 10 minutes? Absolutely not. Many of them practice what is known as digital hermitry. They go offline for weeks, sometimes months. They go to a cabin, or they simply disconnect the router. They understand that to produce work that changes the world, they must temporarily leave the world. They treat the internet like a library. They enter, they get the data they need, and then they leave. They don't live in the library. They don't let the library follow them into their bedroom. They are the masters of the machine. They know that if they don't prune their digital environment, the environment will prune their potential. Control the tool, or the tool controls you. Your phone is designed to be addictive. The colors, the sounds, the variable rewards. It is a laboratory-grade trap. Every time you just check a feed, you are surrendering a piece of your prefrontal cortex. You're making yourself stupider. You're making yourself more impulsive. You are literally rewiring your brain to be incapable of the focus required for mastery. A cold mind treats its attention like a fortress. You do not let every stranger with an internet connection walk through your front door. You do not let a corporation decide what you see the moment you open your eyes. You must be aggressive. You must be ruthless. You must perform a digital surgery on your life and cut out anything that doesn't serve the mission. Control the tool, or the tool controls you. Here is your behavioral instruction, the digital surgery. I want you to take your phone out right now. First, turn off every single non-human notification. If it's not a real person trying to reach you with something urgent, it doesn't get to make a sound. No social media alerts. No news breaking stories. No game reminders. Second, move all infinite scroll apps off your home screen. Hide them in folders. Make them difficult to find. Third, set a digital sunset. At 8 p.m., the device goes in a drawer. Not on the nightstand. In a drawer. In another room. You will feel a phantom itch. You will feel an anxiety of missing out. Good. That is the feeling of the lobotomy being reversed. That is the feeling of your brain trying to remember how to be human again. Sit with it. Let the itch burn. Every time you don't reach for the device, you are reclaiming a piece of your soul. You are asserting your dominance over the hardware. Control the tool, or the tool controls you. You have a choice. You can be the person who is always available and never accomplished, or the person who is hard to reach and impossible to ignore. That's the key. Availability is a sign of low status. If you can be reached at any second of the day for a triviality, your time is worth nothing. It's not about being anti-technology. It's about your discipline to be the architect of your environment. You don't need their permission to take 4 hours to respond to text. You don't need their permission to have a blank home screen. Technology is a powerful servant, but it is a cruel master. Control the tool, or the tool controls you. The world wants you tethered. It wants you in the feedback loop. It wants you reacting to the latest outrage or the latest trend. Why? Because a tethered mind is a predictable mind. A tethered mind doesn't build empires. It buys subscriptions. It doesn't write books. It reads comments. Reject the lobotomy. Reclaim your focus. Treat your cognitive bandwidth like it is the most expensive real estate on earth, because it is. If someone wants 5 minutes of your attention, they should have to prove they are worth it. Your default state should be offline. Your default state should be deep, cold focus. Control the tool, or the tool controls you. Repeat this until it is your digital law. I pick up the phone does not pick me up. I use the app does not use me. I am the master of the machine. You have performed the surgery. You have cut the tether. You are no longer a victim of the digital lobotomy. You're starting to feel the clarity return. You're starting to see the world in high definition again because you aren't looking at it through a 5-inch screen. Control the tool, or the tool controls you. You master the machine. You have turned the slot machine back into a tool. You have protected your cognitive bandwidth from the parasites. You are finally ready to sit in the silence and do the work. But as you clear the digital noise, you will encounter a new enemy. It is a quiet enemy. It is a heavy enemy. It is the emptiness that comes when the ping stops. You master the tool. Now, let's talk about the wall that stands between you and greatness. The wall that most people are too soft to climb. Chapter 5. Boredom is the gatekeeper of greatness. Listen to the silence. Most of you can't stand it. The moment there is a gap in the noise, you itch. You reach for your pocket. You check a notification that doesn't exist. You are terrified of the emptiness because you have been conditioned to believe that if you aren't being entertained, you aren't living. You have become an addict of the new, a junkie for the next. But here is the cold truth. Greatness is boring. Mastery is repetitive. Success is the result of doing the same difficult thing, the same way for the 10,000th time when no one is watching and no one is clapping. If you cannot handle the boredom, you will never handle the crown. Boredom is the final filter. It is the gatekeeper that stands between the amateurs and the elite. Embrace the bore to win the war. You have a choice. You can be the person who needs constant excitement to stay motivated, or you can be the person who finds power in the monotony. That's the key. Most people quit when things get repetitive. They think they've lost their passion. They haven't. They've just hit the monotony barrier. This is the point where the initial excitement of a new goal dies and the actual work begins. It's not about your lack of motivation. It's about your discipline to stay in the seat when the work loses its shine. You don't need their permission to be obsessed with the mundane. You don't need their permission to find depth in what others call boring. Embrace the bore to win the war. Think about an Olympic swimmer. Imagine the life of a gold medalist. You see the podium. You see the flag. You see the 30 seconds of glory on a television screen. But that isn't the reality. The reality is 4 a.m. alarms. The reality is the smell of chlorine at 5 in the morning. That swimmer spends 4 to 6 hours a day staring at a single black line on the bottom of a pool. Left to right, right to left. Thousands of laps, thousands of identical strokes. There is no music. There are no podcasts. There is no social media. Just the breath, the water, and the black line. The swimmer doesn't need variety. They don't need innovation. They need the discipline to do the same boring thing better than anyone else on the planet. They understand that the gold medal is won in the 1,000th hour of staring at that black line. They know that the only way to become extraordinary is to be exceptionally good at being ordinary for a very long time. Embrace the bore to win the war. We live in an experience economy. You're told that life should be an endless stream of novel experiences. You are told that if you aren't having fun, you're doing it wrong. This is a lie designed to keep you weak. Success is not a party. Success is a laboratory. It is a workshop. It is a lonely office at 10 p.m. When you seek constant stimulation, you're training your brain to be shallow. You are teaching yourself to flee at the first sign of resistance. But when you force yourself to sit with the boredom, when you refuse to check out, you are performing a mental alchemy. You are turning lead into gold. You are building the capacity for deep work that we discussed earlier. You are becoming a person who can see the subtle patterns that others miss because they were too busy looking for a distraction. Embrace the bore to win the war. Here is your behavioral instruction, the monotony ritual. For the next 5 days, I want you to perform one boring task for 30 minutes without any external input. No music, no podcasts, no phone in the room. Maybe it's organizing your files. Maybe it's transcribing notes. Maybe it's just sitting still and thinking about a single problem. When the itch comes, and it will, do not scratch it. Observe the itch. Feel the boredom as a physical weight. That weight is the feeling of your focus muscles growing. You are not wasting time. You are training for the war. You're teaching your brain that you are the master of your attention, not the other way around. Embrace the bore to win the war. You have a choice. You can have the warm hit of a distraction or the cold satisfaction of a completed mission. That's the key. Distractions are the fast food of the mind. They're easy to find and they leave you empty. Boredom is the raw fuel. It's hard to swallow, but it's what drives the engine for the long haul. It's not about being a robot. It's about your discipline to be the still point in a moving world. You don't need their permission to be the person who can sit in a room for 4 hours and just work. The world will try to lure you away with fun and networking and vibrancy. Reject it. Your vibrancy is in your results. Your fun is in the winning. Embrace the bore to win the war. The gatekeeper of boredom is there for a reason. It is there to keep the weak out of the 1%. If greatness were exciting every day, everyone would be great. But it isn't. It's a grind. It's a slog. It's the same black line, day after day, year after year. If you can fall in love with the boredom, you are invincible. If you can find the nuance in the repetition, you are a master. If you can stay focused when the hype has faded and the crowd has gone home, you have already won. You have outlasted your competition simply by refusing to be entertained. Embrace the bore to win the war. You don't need their permission to be boring. You don't need their permission to decline the invitation because you have more laps to swim. Let them have the life. You are building a legacy. Let them have the novelty. You are building the truth. Embrace the bore to win the war. Repeat this until it is your philosophy. Boredom is my training ground. Repetition is my weapon. The grind is my glory. You have faced the gatekeeper. You have looked the emptiness in the eye and you didn't flinch. You're beginning to understand that the cold of the monotony is where the real power is forged. You are ready to stop seeking sparks and start building the fire. Embrace the bore to win the war. You mastered the boredom. You have pushed through the monotony barrier. You are now a person who can endure the silence required for excellence. You have stopped the itch, but being able to handle the boredom is only half the battle. You must now create a space where that focus can be deployed with maximum lethality. You mastered the gatekeeper. Now, let's talk about the physical terrain of your focus. Chapter 6, The Sanctuary of Deep Work. Look around you. Your environment is a reflection of your mind. If you're sitting in a room full of clutter, with a phone buzzing at your elbow and a door that stays halfway open, you are inviting defeat. You are telling your brain that your mission is an afterthought. You are signaling to the world that you are available for interruption, available for distraction, and therefore, available for mediocrity. You cannot achieve elite results in a common environment. You cannot do the work of a master in the space of a drifter. To perform at your absolute limit, you must treat your workspace as holy ground. You must move from the office to this sanctuary. You must become an architect of your own isolation. Build the fortress of focus. You have a choice. You can be the person who tries to squeeze in work between interruptions, or you can be the person who dictates the terms of their environment. That's the key. Focus is not just a mental state. It is a physical reality. Your brain is highly sensitive to environmental cues. If you work in the same place where you eat, sleep, or scroll, your brain never fully commits to the task. It stays in a state of shallow readiness. It's not about not having enough space. It's about your discipline to claim what is yours. You don't need their permission to lock the door. You don't need their permission to declare your workspace a no-fly zone for the trivialities of other people. Build the fortress of focus. Think about the world-class mathematicians, the people who solve the equations that define the universe. They don't work in open-plan offices with coffee machines and small talk. They don't have Slack notifications popping up every 30 seconds. They operate like monks. They retreat into a sanctuary. Total silence. Zero interruptions. They might spend 6 hours staring at a single chalkboard in a room with no windows. Why? Because the problems they are solving require a depth of field that cannot be maintained if a single outside voice enters the room. They understand that a 3-minute interruption doesn't just cost 3 minutes. It costs the entire cognitive structure they spent 2 hours building. They treat their environment like a clean room in a laboratory. One speck of social dust ruins the experiment. They build a fortress because the fortress is the only place where genius can breathe. Build the fortress of focus. Your sanctuary is not a luxury. It is a tool. It is a physiological trigger. When you enter this space, your heart rate should settle. Your phone should be physically absent. The lighting should be specific. The noise should be eliminated or controlled. By creating a ritualized environment, you are bypassing the need for willpower. You are telling your nervous system, we are here for one thing only. Everything else is dead to us. A cold mind understands that most people are focus saboteurs. They don't do it because they are evil. They do it because they are bored. They want to pop in and check on you. They want to pull you out of your deep work because your intensity makes them uncomfortable. You must be ruthless with these people. You must build walls so high that they don't even try to climb them. Build the fortress of focus. Here is your behavioral instruction, the sanctuary protocol. Today, you're going to audit your physical workspace and turn it into a fortress. First, the phone. It does not go on the desk face down. It goes in another room. If you can see it, you're thinking about it. Second, the door. If you have one, close it and lock it. If you don't, buy noise-canceling headphones and put them on. These are your do not disturb signs. Third, the ritual. Before you start your deep work, perform the same 3 actions every time. Maybe it's a specific glass of water, a specific song, and a specific notebook. You're anchoring your focus to your surroundings. You're training your brain to flip the switch the moment you enter the sanctuary. Within a week, the mere act of sitting in that chair will trigger a flow state. You are no longer fighting for focus. You are simply entering it. Build the fortress of focus. You have a choice. You can be accessible and average, or isolated and exceptional. That's the key. Accessibility is the enemy of achievement. If people can get to you, they will. They will steal your time. They will bleed your attention. They will use your cognitive gold to pay for their boredom. It's not about being a hermit. It's about your discipline to protect the mission. You don't need their permission to be antisocial during your peak hours. You don't need their permission to ignore the knock on the door. The world will be there when you are done. But while you're in the fortress, the world does not exist. Build the fortress of focus. The fortress is not just a room. It is a state of being. You must build a mental sanctuary as well. When you are in your deep work block, you're not a husband, a wife, a friend, or a consumer. You are a producer. You are an executioner of tasks. You must learn to shut the doors of your mind to the worries of the afternoon or the regrets of the morning. If it isn't relevant to the task at hand, it is a trespasser. Treat it as such. Evict it. Return to the breath. Return to the work. The fortress is only as strong as its weakest point. Do not let a wandering thought be the crack in the stone. Build the fortress of focus. You don't need their permission to take your work seriously. You don't need their permission to invest in the environment that produces your best results. Stop trying to work on the couch. Stop trying to work in the kitchen. Those are places of comfort. The sanctuary is a place of conquest. Build the fortress of focus. Repeat this until it is your law. My space is my sovereignty. My silence is my strength. My fortress is my freedom. You have built the sanctuary. You have cleared the terrain. You have given your mind a place where it can finally go deep without fear of being pulled back to the surface. You're starting to feel the weight of true, uninterrupted focus. It is heavy. It is cold. It is powerful. Build the fortress of focus. You mastered the environment. You have built the physical fortress. You are now a person who knows how to disappear into the work. You have this sanctuary. But as you lock the door and settle in, you will realize that not every distraction comes from a stranger or a screen. Some distractions look like opportunities. Some distractions look like progress. You mastered the where. Now let's talk about the what and the danger of the good opportunity. Chapter 7. Say no to the good to say yes to the great. Stop looking for the devil in the distractions. You think the things that pull you off course will always look like bad habits. You think they will always look like procrastination, social media, or laziness. They won't. The most dangerous distractions in your life don't look like vices. They look like virtues. They look like good opportunities. They look like interesting projects. They look like people who just need a favor. If you want to be exceptional, you have to stop being nice to every good idea that crosses your desk. A good opportunity is a predator in a suit. It exists to lure you away from your great mission. It wants to dilute your intensity until you are just another talented person doing 10 things at an average level. To reach the top, you must become a professional at rejection. A yes to them is a no to you. You have a choice. You can be the reliable person who says yes to everything and accomplishes nothing, or you could be the ruthless person who says no to 99% of the world so they can give 100% to their 1%. That's the key. Excellence is a game of subtraction, not addition. Most of you are failing because your life is cluttered with good things. You have too many friends, too many hobbies, and too many side hustles. You are spread so thin that the world can see right through you. It's not about your lack of opportunity. It's about your discipline to ignore the shiny objects. You don't need their permission to be closed for business. You don't need their permission to decline a profitable deal because it doesn't align with your primary target. A yes to them is a no to you. Think about Warren Buffett, one of the greatest capital allocators in history. He didn't get there by saying yes to every good company. He got there through a brutal filter. There's a story about his strategy for focus. He tells people to list the top 25 things they want to accomplish in their life. Then, he tells them to circle the top 5. Most people look at the remaining 20 and think, I'll get to those when I can. Buffett tells them they are wrong. Those 20 things are not your B list. They are your avoid at all costs list. They are the most dangerous things in your life. Why? Because they are good enough to justify your attention, but not great enough to build your legacy. They are the things that will eat your time and leave you with a busy life instead of a masterful one. Buffett understands that to win big, you have to kill the good to protect the great. A yes to them is a no to you. Every time you say yes to someone else's request, you are saying no to your own goal. You are performing a silent act of self-betrayal. When you agree to that quick coffee, you are saying no to your deep work. When you agree to join that interesting committee, you are saying no to your family or your fitness. You have a finite amount of yes in your pocket. Spend it like it's the last dollar you'll ever have. A cold mind treats its agenda like a sovereign border. You do not let good opportunities cross that border without a visa. You do not care if you look mean or unhelpful. You care about the mission. If the good thing doesn't fuel the great thing, it is an enemy. Treat it as such. Evict it from your schedule. A yes to them is a no to you. Here is your behavioral instruction, the rejection audit. For the next 48 hours, I want you to say no to every single request that is not a life or death emergency or a direct driver of your top goal. Can I pick your brain? No. Can you look at this project? No. Are you free for lunch? No. Watch the reaction. People will be shocked. They are used to you being a yes man. They are used to you being an easy source of energy. Feel the discomfort of saying no. That discomfort is the feeling of your time returning to you. Is the feeling of your boundaries hardening. You are training the world to realize that your yes is expensive. You are training yourself to realize that your time is not a public utility. It is a private reserve. A yes to them is a no to you. You have a choice. You can be liked by everyone or respected by the elite. That's the key. The elite do not say yes to everything. They are famously difficult to reach. They are notoriously picky. They understand that their focus is a limited resource that must be guarded with lethal intent. It's not about being a jerk. It's about your discipline to honor your commitment to yourself. You don't need their permission to prioritize your work over their convenience. The people who get offended by your no are the ones who are planning to use you. The people who respect your no are the ones who are also on a mission. Surround yourself with the latter. A yes to them is a no to you. The world is a marketplace of distractions disguised as value. Read this book. Try this new software. Attend this webinar. Each of these is a tiny yes that adds up to a massive failure. You must be an elitist with your input. If it isn't the absolute best use of your cognitive bandwidth, it is a waste. Stop being a good opportunity collector. Start being a great result producer. The good is the enemy of the great. The good is what keeps you in the middle class. The good is what keeps you comfortable while you should be conquering. A yes to them is a no to you. You don't need their permission to be single-minded. You don't need their permission to have a narrow life. A narrow life is a deep life. A narrow life is where the breakthroughs are. While the world is wide and shallow, you must be narrow and deep. A yes to them is a no to you. Repeat this until it is your law. My no is my shield. My yes is my spear. I do not waste my yes on the trivial. You have mastered the art of the brutal filter. You have cleared the good clutter from your path. You're beginning to feel the power of a 100% commitment to the 1% mission. You're becoming a person of terrifyingly specific focus. A yes to them is a no to you. You mastered the rejection. You have protected your time from the good parasites. You have a clear path to the great. But as you clear the external distractions, you will realize that focus is not just a mental game. It is a biological one. You can say no to every meeting, but if your body is failing, your brain will follow. You mastered the what. Now let's talk about the how and the chemistry of your concentration. Chapter 8, the physiology of flow. You think focus is a magic trick. You think it's a mood that strikes you or a gift you were born with. You are wrong. Focus is a biological output. It is the result of a chemical equation. If you're feeding your body trash, sleeping 4 hours a night, and drowning your system in cheap stimulants, you have no right to complain about your brain fog. You aren't suffering from a lack of focus. You are suffering from a lack of fuel. You're trying to run a jet engine on swamp water and wondering why you can't get off the ground. Your brain is the most energy-hungry organ in your body. It is a high-performance machine that requires high-performance maintenance. If the physiology is broken, the focus is impossible. You can have the best sanctuary in the world and the best to-do list ever written, but if your neurons are misfiring because you're dehydrated and sleep-deprived, you are just a well-organized failure. Fuel the machine, focus the mind. You have a choice. You could treat your body like a dumpster and hope for a miracle, or you can treat it like an elite laboratory where concentration is synthesized. That's the key. True mastery is understanding that the flow state, that effortless, deep immersion in a task, is a physical phenomenon. It requires glucose, it requires oxygen, and it requires a rested prefrontal cortex. It's not about your lack of talent. It's about your discipline to manage your inputs. You don't need their permission to go to bed at 9 p.m. You don't need their permission to skip the sugar-laden lunch that will put your brain into a coma by 2 p.m. You manage the biology so you can dominate the task. Fuel the machine, focus the mind. Look at professional chess players. Most people think they just sit in a chair and move wood. They couldn't be more wrong. In a high-level tournament, a grandmaster can burn up to 6,000 calories in a single day just by sitting there. Their heart rate spiked to 160 beats per minute. Their blood pressure soars. Why? Because the physiological demand of deep, sustained concentration is equivalent to running a marathon. If a chess player eats a heavy, processed meal before a match, they lose. If they haven't optimized their sleep, they lose. Their focus is not a mental choice. It is a biological capacity. They treat their bodies like Olympic sprinters because they know that the first person whose brain runs out of fuel is the first person to make a tactical error. You're no different. Every time you skip sleep or eat junk, you're lowering your cognitive ceiling. You're making yourself easier to beat. Fuel the machine, focus the mind. We live in a culture that glorifies the grind at the expense of the machine. I'll sleep when I'm dead. Powered by caffeine and chaos. This is amateur talk. This is the language of the person who burns out and disappears. The elite professional understands that recovery is part of the work. A cold mind does not use caffeine to mask exhaustion. It uses it as a strategic tool to enhance clarity. A cold mind does not view sleep as a luxury. It views it as the period where the brain flushes the toilets and clears out the metabolic waste of the day. If you don't sleep, the trash stays in your head, and you cannot focus in a room full of trash. Fuel the machine, focus the mind. Here is your behavioral instruction, the physiological reset. For the next 7 days, you are to follow the elite input protocol. First, the sleep anchor. You must be in bed for 8 hours. No screens 60 minutes before. You are not losing time. You are gaining the power to make the next day's time count for double. Second, the brain fuel. Stop eating white foods during work hours. No bread, no sugar, no processed garbage. Eat for steady glucose, not for a spike and a crash. Third, the hydration standard. Drink a liter of water before you even touch a drop of coffee. A dehydrated brain is a shrinking brain. Notice the fog lift. Notice the itch for distraction decrease. When the machine is fueled correctly, focus becomes the default state, not the exception. You will realize that you didn't have attention issues. You had maintenance issues. You have taken the laboratory back from the vandals. Fuel the machine, focus the mind. You have a choice. You could be stressed and messy, or calm and clinical. That's the key. When your physiology is optimized, you don't have to fight your brain to stay on task. The brain wants to focus when it has the resources. It wants to solve problems. It wants to enter flow. It's not about willpower. It's about your discipline to honor the biological requirements of greatness. You don't need their permission to drink water while they drink soda. You don't need their permission to prioritize your recovery over their late-night activities. The world will try to tempt you to break the protocol because your discipline highlights their weakness. Stay the course. Fuel the machine. Focus the mind. Flow is not a gift. It is a result. It is the state where the challenge of the task perfectly matches the skill of the performer. But you cannot use your skills if your brain is starved for energy. You cannot reach the flow state if your nervous system is on edge from too much cortisol and not enough rest. Stop treating your body as a separate entity from your work. Your body is the work. Every cell, every neuron, every heartbeat is the engine that produces your results. If you want to be so focused they can't distract you, you must be so healthy they can't outlast you. Fuel the machine, focus the mind. You don't need their permission to be a health freak. You don't need their permission to be the person who brings their own fuel. Let them mock you from the sidelines while they crash at 3 p.m. You will be entering your third hour of deep work, moving with a clarity they can't even imagine. Fuel the machine, focus the mind. Repeat this until it is your biological law. My body is the engine. My nutrition is the fuel. My recovery is the maintenance. You have mastered the chemistry. You have stabilized the machine. You are now operating at a cognitive level that most people only hit for 5 minutes a day. You are the master of your own flow. Fuel the machine, focus the mind. You mastered the physiology. You have fueled the machine. Your mind is now a weapon of precision. You have cleared the internal fog and the physical clutter. But as you emerge from your fortress, fully fueled and ready to dominate, you will encounter the final, most difficult resistance. You will find that the people closest to you are the ones most threatened by your newfound focus. You master the body. Now, let's talk about the weight of being the only one who cares. Chapter 9. The social cost of mastery. Success is a lonely road. Most people want the view from the summit, but they aren't willing to walk the path. And more importantly, they don't want you to walk it either. The moment you decide to be so focused they can't distract you, you are making a silent declaration that the average life is not enough for you. This makes people uncomfortable. Your discipline is a mirror that reflects their lack of it. Your focus is a spotlight that illuminates their laziness. Expect resistance, not from your enemies. You already know how to handle them. Expect resistance from your friends, your family, and your peers. They will use the guilt trap. They will call you obsessed. They will tell you that you've changed. They will try to lure you back into the warmth of the herd and away from the cold of the mission. You must be prepared to pay the entry fee for the 1%. Isolation is the price of excellence. You have a choice. You could be one of the guys and stay exactly where you are, or you could be the bad guy who protects their time with a vengeance. That's the key. Most people are people pleasers masquerading as professionals. They say yes to social invitations because they're afraid of the awkwardness of saying no. They sacrifice their deep work on the altar of fitting in. They trade their future empire for a few hours of small talk and shallow validation. It's not about your ego. It's about your discipline to honor the work. You don't need their permission to be unavailable. You don't need their permission to decline the happy hour or the weekend trip that serves no purpose. Isolation is the price of excellence. Think about the high performer in a corporate office or a startup. 5 years ago, he was just part of the team. He was invited to every lunch. He was part of every group text. But then something shifted. He realized that hanging out wasn't getting him closer to mastery. He started staying late. He started coming in early. He started wearing noise-canceling headphones and ignoring the office gossip. His peers mocked him. They called him the robot. They joked that he was trying to win a gold star. They felt rejected by his focus, so they tried to rattle him through social exclusion. He felt the sting. He felt the isolation, but he didn't blink. He used that isolation to sharpen his weapon. While they were busy complaining about the boss over drinks, he was busy becoming the person the boss couldn't live without. Fast forward 5 years. He isn't sitting in the cubicle anymore. He is in the corner office. He is the one signing their paychecks. The peers who mocked him are now asking him for a moment of his time. They paid for their social comfort with their careers. He paid for his excellence with a few years of being the bad guy. Isolation is the price of excellence. The world operates on a crab in a bucket mentality. If one crab tries to climb out, the others will reach up and pull it back down. They don't do it because they hate the climbing crab. They do it because if one crab escapes, it proves that the rest are choosing to stay. Your focus is a threat to their comfort. When you decline an invitation to do deep work, you are reminding them that they could be working too, but they aren't. A cold mind understands this dynamic and refuses to be the victim of it. You must develop a social callus. You must get comfortable with being the outsider. You must realize that the crowd is almost always moving in the wrong direction. If you're doing what everyone else is doing, you will have what everyone else has. If you want what no one else has, you must do what no one else is doing. Isolation is the price of excellence. Here is your behavioral instruction, the social call. I want you to look at your calendar for the next 30 days. Identify 3 recurring social events that do not contribute to your health, your wealth, or your deep work. Now delete them. Do not make up an elaborate excuse. Do not apologize for having a mission. Simply say, I have a prior commitment to my work, or I'm not available for that right now. Observe the social pressure that follows. Notice the guilt. Notice the urge to explain yourself. Resist it. Let the silence hang. You're training the world to realize that your time is not for sale. You are building the fortress of focus we talked about, but this time, the walls are made of your social no. Isolation is the price of excellence. You have a choice. You can have popularity or power. That's the key. Popularity is the currency of high school. Power is the currency of the 1%. You cannot maintain an elite level of focus if you are constantly managing the feelings of people who aren't even on the same road as you. It's not about being a loner. It's about your discipline to curate your inner circle. You don't need their permission to stop answering texts in the middle of the day. You don't need their permission to be the one who works too much. Mastery requires a level of selfishness that most people find offensive. Let them be offended. Their offense is the sound of your progress. Isolation is the price of excellence. Masters throughout history have always been characterized by periods of intense isolation. Newton, Tesla, Jobs. They understood that the collective mind is a distracted mind. To find the diamond of a new idea, you must go into the cave alone. You cannot find greatness in a committee. You cannot find focus in a crowd. Stop trying to be understood by people who haven't even mastered their own morning routine. Stop seeking validation from the drifters. Their likes are worthless. Their opinions are noise. The only validation that matters is the result of your work. And the work is done in the silence of your sanctuary. Isolation is the price of excellence. You don't need their permission to be different. You don't need their permission to be intense. If you want to be so focused they can't distract you, you have to be comfortable with them not liking you for it. Isolation is the price of excellence. Repeat this until it is your social law. My mission is my priority. My time is my property. My focus is my freedom. You have accepted the cost. You have paid the entry fee. You are beginning to realize that the loneliness of the mission is actually the peace of the mission. You're no longer performing for an audience. You're performing for the standard. Isolation is the price of excellence. You master the social cost. You have cleared the path of the people pleasers. You are moving with a level of independence that makes you dangerous to the status quo. You have the sanctuary, the fuel, and the know. But as you reach the final stage of your journey, you will realize that all these tactics are leading to a single, final transformation. You master the world. Now, let's talk about the man who has become the focus itself. Chapter 10, The Unshakable Mind. You have arrived. You have traveled through the trenches of multitasking, the war against the drifter, the surgery of the digital lobotomy, and the brutal isolation of the elite. You have built the sanctuary and you have fueled the machine. But here, at the summit, the tools disappear. The tactics fade away. You're no longer practicing focus. You have become focus. This is the stage of the unshakable mind. The point where your vision is so absolute that the world's noise doesn't just stop bothering you. It ceases to exist. Most people spend their lives trying to ignore distractions. They are in a constant state of internal friction, pushing away the world so they can work. They are fighting a defensive war. But the unshakable mind is offensive. It is so heavy, so dense, and so locked onto its target that the world's attempts to distract it are like raindrops hitting a tank. The tank doesn't ignore the rain. The tank doesn't even feel it. I am the focus. The noise does not exist. You have a choice. You could be the person who is forever struggling to concentrate, or you could be the person who has become the concentration itself. That's the key. True mastery is not the absence of noise. It is the presence of an undeniable signal. When your signal is strong enough, the static of the world simply cannot compete. You aren't trying to be disciplined anymore. You are merely acting according to your nature. It's not about your willpower at this stage. It's about your discipline to stay in the state of being you have forged. You don't need their permission to be unreachable. You don't need their permission to be the still point in a spinning world. I am the focus. The noise does not exist. Think about the Zen master, not the one in a quiet mountain temple, but the master in the middle of a crowded, chaotic marketplace. Imagine the scene. Merchants are shouting, carts are rattling, people are pushing, and the air is thick with the smell of commerce and panic. The average person in that marketplace is a jagged mess of sensory overload. Their attention is being pulled in 10 directions every second. But the master sits in the center of the square. Eyes half closed, breath steady, heart rate low. To the master, the marketplace is a ghost. The noise is a distant hum that has no more meaning than the wind in the trees. Their mind is locked onto the breath or a single koan or the absolute emptiness of the moment. They aren't fighting to stay focused. They have simply shifted their reality to a frequency where the noise doesn't vibrate. They are unshakable. They have achieved the ultimate sovereignty, the ability to decide what is real and what is not. I am the focus. The noise does not exist. We live in a world that is terrified of this level of depth. Society wants you shaking. It wants you pivoting. It wants you flexible, which is just a polite way of saying easy to move. When you become unshakable, you become a problem for the system. You stop responding to the shocks of the news. You stop responding to the urgency of the trends. You become a black hole for distractions. They enter your event horizon and they simply disappear, leaving no trace. A cold mind understands that the final form of focus is a lack of effort. If you're still trying to focus, you are still an amateur. The master has automated the focus until it is a physiological reflex. When the unshakable mind sits down to work, the rest of the universe is instantly deleted. There's only the pen, the code, the strategy, or the breath. Everything else is a hallucination. I am the focus. The noise does not exist. Here is your behavioral instruction, the final erasure. Today, I want you to perform a task in a high-noise environment. Go to a busy coffee shop, a loud park, or a crowded terminal. Do not bring your noise-canceling headphones. Do not look for the quiet corner. Sit in the middle of the chaos. Open your work. Lock onto your target. Your goal is not to block out the sound. Your goal is to reach a level of immersion where you honestly forget the sound is there. When you look up an hour later and realize you didn't hear a single conversation or a single door slam, that is the moment you have achieved the unshakable mind. You have proven that your internal reality is more powerful than the external world. I am the focus. The noise does not exist. You have a choice. You can be a mirror reflecting the chaos of the world, or you can be a lamp casting your own light. That's the key. A mirror is at the mercy of whatever stands in front of it. If the world is ugly and loud, the mirror is ugly and loud. But a lamp doesn't care about the darkness. A lamp doesn't care about the shadows. The lamp just glows. It's not about being cold. It's about your discipline to be the source. You don't need their permission to ignore the reality that everyone else is obsessed with. You have built your own reality. You have built it out of 90-minute blocks of deep work and years of saying no. I'm the focus. The noise does not exist. The unshakable mind is the ultimate competitive advantage. While your competitors are being rattled by the latest market shift or the latest social media scandal, you are moving forward. You are unaffected. You are a tank driving through a flower bed. You aren't competing with them because they aren't even on your radar. You are competing with the limits of your own potential. And you are winning because you have stopped leaking power. I am the focus. The noise does not exist. You don't need their permission to be the most intense person they've ever met. You don't need their permission to be gone while you're standing right in front of them, because your mind is already miles ahead on the mission. Let them call you distant. Let them call you focused to a fault. They're using the language of the distracted to describe the state of the master. I am the focus. The noise does not exist. Repeat this until it is the only truth in your head. My vision is my world. My focus is my nature. I am unmovable. You have reached the end of the instruction. You have the map. You have the armor. You have a weapon. You have moved from the shimmer of the surface to the cold of the deep. You have become so focused they can't distract you. The noise hasn't stopped. It never will. But you have finally learned the truth. The noise only has the power you give it. And today, you have stopped being a donor. I am the focus. The noise does not exist. You master the mind. You have achieved the unshakable state. You have turned your attention into a force of nature. You are no longer a student of focus. You are the focus. Every battle you face from this moment on will be won not with effort, but with the sheer gravity of your presence. You mastered your mind. Now, it is time to deliver the final verdict to the world you left behind. Conclusion. You have finished the training, but the work never ends. You have spent this time learning how to sharpen your attention into a weapon, how to build a sanctuary, and how to fuel the machine. You have the tools to be the most focused human being in any room. But a weapon is useless if it stays in the holster. A sanctuary is a prison if you never produce. From this second forward, the world will try to lure you back into the drift. It will send you pings. It will send you good opportunities. It will send you people who want to steal your gold. Remember the cost. Remember the currency. Your attention is your life. Do not give it away for free. Do not let the slot machine in your pocket win. Be the mountain. Be the laser. Be the master of the no. Put this phone down. Do not check your messages. Do not check the comments. Lock your door, find a target, and strike with everything you have. The world belongs to the focused. Go take what is yours. Get to work.